Hey YouTube, welcome back to Clutch Situation. Today I'm going to be doing a review and testing procedure for a video that several of you have been requesting over the last few months, and that was for me to review pencil leads. I spend a lot of time reviewing pencils and sharing my pencil collecting hobby here on the channel, but I haven't really spent any time talking about leads. I did do an eraser test at one point in the past, but still haven't talked about leads. And so I want to run down for you a little bit about the testing procedure that I've designed here. I recently made a purchase to get a bunch of leads that I think would be leads that are easy for people to obtain online so that we can have a little bit of a comparison going here, and I'll give to you my impressions of what each of these leads are like. And so let me start off here by just telling a little bit about what my rules are going to be for this test. I'm a science teacher, but this is far from a scientific experiment. This is very subjective because I'm just giving my impressions of like what the hand feel and the writing feel is when I use these different leads. And there's some basic facts that I want everybody to understand about how leads work, but I also am sticking to certain aspects of mechanical pencil leads because I have a preference. And, you know, leads can be expensive, and I'm not going to test out every grade. I'm not going to test out every lead. I'm going to try to work within the confines of what I really like about mechanical pencils. And so here are the ground rules. The base lead that I'm going to be comparing all of these leads to is the Pentel Hi-Polymer leads, which are, in my opinion, the most cost-effective, strongest leads that you can get at a normal retail store that practically anybody could get anywhere in the United States. And so Pentel Super High Polymer is sold in Walmart and Target and grocery stores. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. And so this is going to be the base lead that I'm going to be using for the comparison right here. And then I'm also mostly going to be testing HB lead and 2B lead. And I'll talk about pencil lead grades here coming up in a little bit because there's a lot of people that are not aware of what is happening with lead grades. And so I'll talk a little bit about pencil lead grades and what those are all about before we start the reviews of the individual leads. But these are the leads that I'm going to be reviewing. And what I've done here is I've geared up Pentel P200 series pencils that each has one of each of these leads in it that we'll use for the comparison test. And the reason why I decided to do this, I'm not trying to make it more complicated than it needs to be, but I also sort of feel like there needs to be a little bit of consistency in terms of how I'm testing the leads. In other words, use the same mechanism for testing every single lead and the same grip for testing every single lead so that we can try to avoid any inherent bias that there might be as a result of the pencil. And I picked the P200 series for a couple reasons. One, it's in my top 10. It's an awesome pencil. I have enough of them because I collect them that I can put individual pencils having different leads in them so that I can sort of speed up this process. I don't want you to be sitting here while I'm taking out a lead and putting in another lead. And so every one of these pencils is all geared up with one of these individual leads. And I have a little guide here of what's in what pencil that I can use to help me in doing the review and the testing here. It's also a reliable mechanism, and so I know it's not going to fail. Now, one thing that I should say about pencil leads while we're here is that different grade leads will react differently to different mechanisms. And so generally the softer the lead, the harder it's going to be for a mechanism to, or I'm sorry, the easier it's going to be for a mechanism to grip it. And so if you have a pencil mechanism that you're having difficulty with the lead not gripping very well in it, my first piece of advice for you is just to use the little lead jam clear and try to clear out the mechanism as best as you can. But if no matter how much you clean it out, you're still getting slippery and slidiness, it could just be that you could save that pencil by going to a softer lead grade. And so let's talk a little bit about lead grades so that you know what I'm talking about. And so I'll refer to all of these as I go along, but I'm just going to slide them off the page, get them out of the way, because I've already marked down what's in what. And let's talk a little bit about lead grades. And so I'm just going to use this, actually, let's just use the high polymer right at the start, the Pentel Super High Polymer. And I have Pentel Super High Polymer in the navy blue PS315. I know that this isn't the Sharp series, but it's virtually the same mechanism, so I'm going ahead and using it. And so, let's talk a little bit about lead grades. Now, many of you know that you can get pencil leads in a variety of different thicknesses, from 0.3 millimeter all the way up to 5 millimeter for a clutch. Okay, so 0.3, 0.5, 0.7, 0.9, 1.1, 1.15, 1.3, 2.0, I believe 3.0 is a possibility. That might be a 3.2, I'm not sure, and 5.0. Okay, so you can get pencil leads in a wide variety of different thicknesses. You can also get them in a wide variety of different softnesses, from 4H, and I'm probably going to mess this up, 3H, 2H, 1H, well, I guess that would just be H, HB, B, 2B, and then this runs with every letter all the way up to 9B. And if you're an artist, you know what I'm talking about, okay? Because anybody who does art in pencil knows that there's a wide variety of different pencil grades. Those at this end over here are the softest. Those at this end over here are the hardest. And for mechanical pencils, you can get mechanical pencil lead in a wide variety of different hardnesses, okay? So for example, I know that you can get it in 2H for sure. I know you can get it in H. You can get it in HB. B can be a little hard to come by, but 2B for sure, 4B for sure, and I'm not really sure of the other ones. I'd have to do a little bit more research on this, but you know, this is about testing the leads, figuring out what works best in the leads, but I can guarantee you that you can get mechanical pencil lead in those grades for sure. And so everything that I'm going to be testing here is either HB or 2B, and I found that I really like 2B. It's a slightly softer lead that writes much more smoothly on the page, and it really depends upon what your personal preference is. Now, I also want to point out that there are going to be a couple leads that I'm not going to review here or test here, and that's going to be Einstein HB and basically anything by Papermate. These Pentel leads that I have are really old. I just have a couple of varieties of super high polymer, Gorilla lead from Right Dudes, Retro 51. Why am I not reviewing these leads? Well, I want to review leads that are sort of going to be the creme de la creme of leads. And so Papermate leads, anything that you can buy at a big box store that isn't super high polymer is probably going to be out. I'm not going to review Gorilla leads because I think Right Dudes products are horrible. Sorry, I'm going to say it. Right Dudes products are horrible. I would never recommend that anyone buy them, and this Right Dudes Gorilla lead almost always comes with a Right Dudes pencil, and I'm not going to recommend that anybody buys a Right Dudes pencil. You know what? Save your money. Get a Pentel product. Get a high-quality product. Retro 51 is niche, you know. Pentel, I don't think they make leads anymore. That's kind of old. And so this is just an example of leads that I'm not going to review moving forward. Other things that I want to talk about, I'm going to do an eraser test for each of these leads as well, and for this I'm going to use the Pentel Click Eraser ZE22. It's basically a Pentel high polymer plastic eraser. I'm choosing the stick eraser over the brick simply because I want to make sure that it's very easy to do the actual reviews. And so that's what's going to happen with the eraser test. Now, we're already almost 9 minutes into the video, and so before we get started, the other thing that I want to nail down is the process that I'm going to use. I'm going to write down the name of the lead. I'm going to write down the grade, its hardness. I'm going to scribble a little bit to serve not only to see what it's like when it scribbles, but also to do an eraser test with those scribbles, and I'm going to do 5 swipes with the eraser to try to sort of standardize the erasing. Since I'm using a similar mechanism in every case here, I'm also going to just do the tests with 2 clicks out of the pencil, okay, which is going to result in about that much lead every time for a Sharp Series pencil, and maybe that'll give us a little bit of an indication of how much it wears down. Like if we start scratching paper with a lead after 2 clicks, maybe we're going to know that a certain lead is going to wear down more than a little bit. Once again, this is not a scientific test. I don't have any pressure measurement tools here or anything. I'm not going to be measuring the length of the lead or anything like that, but you know, if it helps us to get a little bit better of an impression of what's going on with the different leads, so be it. And so I have these all set up in order, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the super high polymer leads, because those leads are the leads that we're going to serve as our basis of comparison here. And so I'm going to move all these pencils out of the way while still trying to keep them in order, and we will go from there. Now I'm also going to get a fresh clean sheet of paper after several of these, just so that it stays clear in the video. You probably noticed that I'm also going to be testing some colored leads as well, and so that's something to look forward to. And so check it out as we go along. Okay, so clean sheet of paper, and we'll be ready to go. Okay, so first up, Pentel Super High Polymer. This is probably the most cost-effective lead for strength that you can buy in a retail store. I'm going to start off with 0.5 millimeter in HB, and so once again, 1-2 clicks. Okay, not so much out of the PS315. I had to use a click to get the lead sleeve to come out. And so this is Pentel Super High Polymer. And this is 0.5 millimeter in HB, which is the basic number 2 pencil. I'm going to give it a good scribble. Okay, and then let's test. This is the 0.7 variant of it. I mean, I know there shouldn't be much of a difference in terms of the overall quality of the lead based upon its thickness, but since I had this lying around, I figure, well, we might as well get people seeing what the difference is between 0.5 and 0.7. 0.7 millimeter HB. Give it a little scribble. Okay, I'm going to try to keep consistent pressure. Let's go ahead and do an eraser test on these 5 swipes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's with the super high polymer. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, pretty similar results between 0.5 and 0.7. That really shouldn't surprise us. The only difference is in the thickness of the lead. So, now what are we going to do? Well, let's start off with Pentel's sort of flagship lead, and that is the Pentel Ain STEIN. I was going to look up what STEIN stood for in preparation for this video, but friends, I done messed up, and the problem with this is that it stands for like silica something. It's supposed to be a harder lead grade. I'll post it on the video in writing after you see this so that we know what's going on. But the first 2 Ain STEIN leads that we're going to test is we're going to compare 0.5 millimeter in HB and 2B. So for this, I have my green P205, 1-2 clicks. And I have, these are our Pentel Super High Polymer ones, and so we can sort of compare the lead wearage between these. Supposedly the Pentel Ain STEIN is supposed to be better. So this is Pentel Ain STEIN. STEIN is an acronym. 0.5 millimeter HB. Give it some scribbling. You know, this one looks a little bit lighter than the super high polymer, and maybe that should make sense for us because this is a supposedly a higher silica lead, and you can see that a stronger lead, and so you can see that it has not worn down as much as the super high polymer. And so right now in HB, the verdict seems to be that the Ain STEIN lead will last you a little bit longer, but it's going to have a fainter line. Let's go ahead and compare this to the 0.5 in 2B, 1-2 clicks. And we should, oh yeah, definitely a darker line with the 2B as we should expect. Pentel Ain STEIN, 0.5 millimeter in 2B. And we'll give it a little scribble, much darker line there. And if we compare it, as you can see, the 2B has worn down significantly more than HB, which you would expect under these circumstances because it is a softer lead. Let's do a little bit of an eraser test and compare it to the above. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, a little bit more left on the page, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And of course, with a 2B, you're going to expect a 2B lead to not be able to be as easily erased because it is a darker line. And so my initial verdict for the Pentel Ain STEIN is it is definitely a longer lasting lead than the super high polymer, but the super high polymer was a good place to start with. Okay, so let's continue on. Next up we have in my gold PO type the Uni Nano Dial lead in 0.5 HB. So 1,2 Nano Dial is sort of known as a lead that is a stronger lead that has it's called nanodial because supposedly it has diamond something or other. You know, I mean, trust me, it does not have diamond in it. It would not be this cheap if it actually had diamond in it, but they market it as like diamond infused or something like that. So this is Uni Nano Dial lead in 0.5 millimeter, and this is HB, and we'll give it a little scribble. Okay, and we will compare that to Uni Nano Dial in 2B. So our comparison is you can get this container of Uni Nano Dial lead with any Unicuratoga pencil that you buy in the United States, a general one, and then I had to order this 0.5 millimeter in 2B. I got this from Jet Pens. Comes in a really attractive, awesome case that slides open so you can get your lead out. So let's go ahead and compare the HB to the 2B. So 1,2. This is Uni Nano Dial, definitely a darker line. 0.5 millimeter in 2B. Scribble, 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 scribble. Once again, let's compare lead wear on these. And so I'll compare to the Ain STEIN. Okay, so the green was HB. Looks like about the same lead wear. And then the 2B, whoops, I'm already messing this up. I got to get it right in the right order. This is the HB compared to the HB. So on top, this is the Hi-Polymer, or I'm sorry, the Pentel Ain STEIN. This is the Uni Nano Dial. Looks pretty comparable to me. And then the same thing here for the 2B for both the Uni Nano Dial and the Pentel Ain STEIN. I mean, you're going to expect 2B lead to wear much more quickly than HB lead, and it appears as if that is the case. And so I'm going to keep this green PO205 around because that's the 0.5 HB of the Ain STEIN, and this is the gold one, sorry, the burgundy one is the 0.5 2B of the Ain STEIN, sort of for comparison. Okay, moving right along. Pilot Neox Graphite. This is a lead that I've had my eye on for a while. This is the Pilot Neox Graphite is sort of marketed in the opposite way of the Uni Nano Dial and the Pentel Ain STEIN, in that they're sort of marketing it as, and it says here on the case, high purity graphite. They're marketing it as being a little bit more softer lead that's going to write a little bit better on the page without skips. And so let's see how we actually do with this. I forgot the eraser test for the Uni Nano Dial. Let's do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So far the eraser tests are yielding pretty similar results for everything. Okay, the 2B is generally more difficult to erase than the HB, and that's always going to be the case. So let's check out what pencils I have for this Pilot Neox Graphite. I have my purple P205, 1, 2. This is Pilot Neox Graphite in 0.5 millimeter HB. Give it a little scribble for that eraser test. Let's go ahead and compare it. HB to HB. Looks like the Pilot Neox has worn down a little bit more. And then let's go to the 2B, which is in one of my black P205s. 1, 2. Gets a little bit lead. We're getting a pretty consistent amount of lead out with 2 clicks. That's why I chose the Pentel Sharp mechanism. This is 2B, Pilot Neox. I already have a little bit of dust coming off because it's a softer lead. Pilot Neox Graphite 0.5 millimeter in 2B. Scribble, 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 scribble. And in this case, I'm almost out. Okay. And so we add the 2B on the Pentel on the top here wear down quite a bit, and it's almost all gone on the Pilot Neox Graphite. Now, in terms of the overall darkness of the line, I actually think the Pentel Ain STEIN in 2B is a darker writing experience than the Pilot Neox Graphite. And so if you're looking for a darker line, I would definitely recommend the Ain STEIN leads over the Pilot Neox. You're getting more lead wear with the Pilot Neox Graphite, and the Ain STEIN is giving you a darker line with less wear. Now, the price of each of these tubes of lead is comparable. You get 40 pieces in each one for the same cost, $3.30 on jet pens. And so far my verdict on Pilot Neox Graphite is, like, maybe unless you're using it for sketching and you really like it, it seems that Pentel Ain STEIN is the better buy. Okay, moving right along. Next up, we have just 0.7 versions of, I have Uni Kuratoga lead. This is a lead that says Uni Kuratoga on it. Supposedly the Kuratoga lead is specially designed with a stronger core for use in the Kuratoga pencil. So what I did here is I geared up 2 Kuratoga pencils for us to sort of do a test. One of these Kuratoga pencils has Pentel Super Hi-Polymer lead in it. There is a difference in lead size. I think one of my dogs ate my Uni Kuratoga pipe slide, which I'm moderately upset about. The good news is that the price has come down so much that it shouldn't be difficult to replace it. So I am going to be comparing 0.7 millimeter to 0.5 millimeter, but the green pencil here is going to have Pentel Super Hi-Polymer lead, and this is going to have that Uni Kuratoga lead, and we'll sort of see how that influences how well it does, or in this case, should not keep a point. Now, in this tape-wrapped black PO205, I have just the 0.5 HB lead, and so with a rigid mechanism, let's see how it does. This is Uni Kuratoga. It's in my way, so I'm going to move it. 0.5 millimeter HB. Give it a little squiggle. This is with a fixed tip pencil, P200 series, just like these other ones, okay? Now, I did write a little bit more here, but we're seeing, more wear, I think, than the Ain STEIN. Then if we go, this is, and once again, I'm going to do 2 clicks here, even though this is a different mechanism. Actually, I better do 3 clicks on this, because we're going to see how this works out. This is Uni Kuratoga with Pentel Super Hi-Polymer in HB. And then we're going to compare that, once again, 3 clicks, 1, 2, 3, to a Uni Kuratoga loaded with Uni Kuratoga lead in HB. And let's compare what the difference is here. Well, I don't see much difference in either the line or how much it's worn down, honestly. And so your mileage may vary. Oftentimes it's really difficult to see what sort of noticeable change there is. I suppose another thing that I could do is I could write a lot with something and see how many words I could get out of a single strand of lead. But we're already 24 minutes into this video, and so I'm not going to do that right now because I know that time is at a premium for YouTube watchers. And so let's go ahead and continue on with, I just have some comparisons of Pentel Ain STEIN in 0.7. And so this shouldn't be too different from the test above, but maybe this is a good way to verify the test above, because so far I definitely have preferred the Pentel Ain STEIN to the other leads. So this is Pentel Ain STEIN in 0.7 millimeter HB. Okay, give it a little scribble. I should probably remember to do the eraser test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will say that it appears as if the Pilot Neox Graphite is erasing a little bit easier, by the way. And then for the Uni Kuratoga, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. not so easy to erase it. It is billed as sort of being a harder lead. And so let's continue on then with the Pentel Ain STEIN 0.7 in 2B. It's again 2 clicks. Pentel Ain STEIN. Wow, we're getting a nice dark line with this Pentel Ain STEIN. 0.7 millimeter in 2B. Give it a scribble. Okay. And so, you know, comparing it to the above, there's a bigger difference, a more noticeable difference between HB and 2B for the 0.5 millimeter lead, because 0.5 millimeter I think is a thinner lead to begin with. And I can notice less of a difference between Ain STEIN HB and 2B for the 0.7, probably because it's already a thicker line. But you know, your mileage may vary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once again, thicker line isn't necessarily erasing as easily. And so, you know, it's up to you to make a judgment call. Before I go here, before I finish up, there's just one couple more things that I want to point out. And some of you might be curious and have been thinking to yourself, well, haven't I seen like colored LEDs out there? And yes, you have. You have seen colored LEDs. Pilot makes a ColorNoc LED. I got it in orange. I also have Pentel Super Hi-Polymer in red. I have geared up a pencil for this, for the orange one, so you can sort of see how it writes. I'm going to do 2 clicks here, but I'm not optimistic about what I'm going to get out of these 2 clicks. This is Pilot ColorNoc. See, I have all sorts of lead breakage problems with colored LEDs. NO 0.7 millimeter. I'm not prepared to call this HB or 2B. Folks, my time working with colored LEDs has basically shown that colored LEDs are really fragile. They break really easily. And, you know, I was probably thinking the same thing that you were thinking. Oh, cool, colored lead. I can write in orange lead and red lead and blue lead and blah, blah, blah. And it seems really awesome on first inspection. But honestly, unless you're using it for like sketching or drawing or shading, for general purpose writing, the colored lead, now I'm a heavy-handed writer. I press pretty hard on the page. And so for me, I have serious problems with breakage of these LEDs. You know, just out of curiosity, I'm going to give it a scribble. Let's go ahead and do an eraser test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, that's, you know, it erases. I think that with a good application of eraser, you could get it to erase. And so there we go. And so definitely not a scientific test. I hope that you enjoyed the writing and my impression of the different LEDs. I'm probably going to rate the Pentel Ain STEIN as the best lead here in terms of the overall bang for the buck. You can especially see the difference between HB and 2B for the 0.5 millimeter lead. Yeah, I could see a clear difference in the darkness for the 0.5 millimeter 2B. And then the Uni Nano Dial wasn't bad. It definitely doesn't wear down as much as the Pentel Ain STEIN, but you are sacrificing, I think, a little bit of a darker line, but it still looks really, really good. Pilot Neox Graphite is the one that I was least impressed with. It's not unimpressive in that you definitely get an erasable line. I'm surprised that it does not have a darker line, given that it's supposedly a softer overall lead than the Pentel Ain STEIN or the Uni Nano Dial. And so, long story short, too late. If you like Pentel Super Hi-Polymer lead, stick with it. I don't really think that there's any reason to deviate from it. It's a great lead. It's cost effective. It's cheaper than any of these other ones that I've reviewed. But if you're looking to go up on a lead product and, you know, spend $3.30 for a tube on jet pens, I would recommend the Pentel Ain STEIN out of these 3. Now that said, I don't think that you can go wrong with any of these LEDs. The Uni Nano Dial is probably the strongest. The Pilot Neox Graphite is probably the least strong, but you're also not getting a darker line. And so my recommendation for you is the Pentel Ain STEIN lead, which is available on jet pens. You can see I have my tiny little tube of 10 pieces of 0.2 in HB for my 0.2 millimeter mechanical pencils. And so, yeah, check out mechanical pencil LEDs. This turned out to be a pretty long video, but I hope you enjoyed it because I know some of you on the channel were asking about it. Hopefully this method of testing was useful for you. I understand that it's subjective. I understand that it's not scientific. But if it allowed you to do a little bit of a comparison, hopefully that will help you to make a decision. And so thanks for watching. Look for more mechanical pencils review coming up on Clutch Situation. And also check out my blog, klexer.wordpress.com. That's KLECSER.wordpress.com, where I talk about not only mechanical pencils, but also my board gaming hobby and other things. And so thanks for watching.